Hi, this is Dennis, and welcome to the Flip Classroom session on convictions, attitude, behaviors, and results. The idea is that in a video around about 10-11 minutes, we're going to go through what we would normally do in the classroom. And then now you're further prepared, so the discussion in the classroom is going to be more advanced as we come to the training itself. I'm first going to go through the illustration here and talk about a number of these things. What does it mean, and give you a couple of assignments. And then I'm going to add to it in this illustration here, which is basically a lifeline or a life path, and add to it with further observations. Let's start over here. Convictions, attitude, and behaviors and results leans towards something in the theoretical terms called a theory of planned behaviors. It basically goes to say that whatever we do, is that something we have thought about, or is it an act of randomness? We all know that the brain works in such a way that we try to do it automatic. We need to get things done in an automatic way, because otherwise we're just simply going to be fried, overthinking, analyzing, reflecting on things all the time. Basically going to say, if you meet someone, you have a tendency potentially to say, "Hi, how are you?" That's an automatic reaction, rather you have to go and ask yourself, is this something I want to do or not something I want to do? The idea is that it's a positive outcome that you like to have, and so you repeat yourself. Now, going into leadership, we need to get some of these things also automated, so to speak, but we need to do it in a way by which it's actually well thought of, so that it comes out in a positive way for you, for the employees, and for the company. The idea is that here, when we speak about leadership, many people have the idea they want to be great leaders, which I find is a very noble and obviously one of the reasons why you're also on this program. The idea is good, it's a headline, we can use it, but I'm asking, what underpins your idea about being a great leader? I mean, have you thought about the consequences of this? So, do you like people? I can tell you there are people who don't like people, or they're skeptical about them. So how does that show up in their behaviors? Question mark. Do you truly and really like people? Do you care for them? Do you want to be with them? Do you have time for them? Are you available when they need you and not when only you need them? Do you have plans for them, KPIs for their growth? Do you give them challenging work? Do you actually grow them while you have them and then pass them on so they come to a benefit for the company and other people in the organization? Do you actually want to invest in them, just like the company is investing in you now? Do you want to open the wallet and do good for them, and not just saying, well, you can go and read a book and then you upgrade it? That's part of the ideas about being a leader. That really is to make a true commitment to be with other people and make them better. So, how does that show up in your behavior? Well, it should show up in a way that you actually give them time, you have reserved time, you do follow-up in your daily life, one-on-ones, you set themselves out for tough love, meaning that you both give them the good feedback and also the tough feedback, so that they understand that higher standards and requirements is there when they work for you, which is good, and hopefully the result will show up as good employees. I want to let you know that the world is so put together that Gallup's employee engagement survey gives us the numbers that in Denmark, 25% of the employees are engaged. 50% approximately of them are unengaged, and yet 25% of them are actively unengaged. It basically means that 75% of our employees are unengaged. And my question to you is, how does that really work together with great leadership? We have, in other hands, a job on our hand, and it's about you showing up, wanting to do something about this. So here's the second part of the question. If the line of thinking can go this way, I'm asking you, if you have a person or a scenario where someone is not working with you, can you actually make the model work backwards up so that your behaviors are altered or changed, so that that has an impact on your attitude, that then gives a little twist to your convictions, which then again returns down here, and then you end up over here. That sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? But let me illustrate it with another example. In private life, many people want to have a wonderful marriage, which I hope for any and everyone. They want to be together with a great partner, and they spend maybe 10, 20, 50, 100, 200,000 kronas on a marriage, on a wedding, and everything is great. They do a commitment with themselves for a 40-year agreement, which has running another 10 years to it, so we're at least bound together for 50 years, and then we will see how it goes. It's called a wedding. The idea here, of course, is that we want to be together and have a loving life. How does that show up in your attitude? Well, it should show up as if you care for one another. You should express yourself with love and kindness, and you give space and want to pursue each other's great plans. You know, sometimes you're ahead, sometimes I'm ahead. You know, you grow your family maybe with kids, and you get yourself a house and a dog and a car. Everything is good, and things move on. It shows up in your behaviors as if you actually do go on travels that you've been dreaming about, or you actually get to, as a man, buy the diamond ring that you would expect to do, etc., etc., and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy in the theory. What is then the divorce rate in Denmark? The divorce rate in Denmark is 50%, which goes to ask, where along the line in this process here did it all go wrong? Where did you start implementing the plan that says, I don't want you anymore? Because it has to start somewhere here that actually ended up over here. So my question backwards is, where in your behaviors is that you need to change with that slightly alter your attitude so that it actually turns out to be a conviction that says, I can still and want to be with you because I decided myself to do so. It also goes to say something extra, and that is, while we're looking at convictions, attitude, behaviors and result as a one line of thinking, as a deliberate thought process, science will tell you that actually the way we create habits, the way we create our behaviors also sometimes works backwards up, i.e. we have done something at some point in time that showed up to be, oh, that was good, or that was nice, or I got out of this in this way, i.e. this must be the right way to do it, in my world. That makes me change or alter my attitude a little bit, which again reflects back on my conviction. Interesting, terribly interesting. Now the model also has two sides to it, and that is really, who influenced all of this? Where did you get it from? I mean, did you just wake up one morning saying, wow, here I am? What you will know is, of course, that you are part of your environment, and I'm asking, what are the structures that actually created the line of thinking you were? Think about that. That's part of the exercise. I want you to think about what are the individuals, or who are the individuals that formed you or were a role model for you to make you think in a very particular way. So one of my convictions is that every human being is a wonderful human being. And sometimes somebody tries to show me otherwise, but I don't believe in that. I know for a fact that this was Sigfrid Andersen who gave me that conviction. And I must say it's one of the nicest and kindest acts I've ever heard from anyone. So I said, well, I want to try that. And I hope that it has stuck with me at least up until this time. So, I want you to think about not only the structures and the individuals that has impacted you, but also what is your leadership conviction? With that, what is the attitude that has to underline it so that it actually comes to life? What is the behavior that you need in order to create the great results that you're looking for? Detail that. I want you to think about your private life as if your partnership or your marriage. What is it that you need to do in a similar way? What is it, the conviction that you carry with you to make sure that your togetherness is great? What is the attitude that has to underpin it? So if this is what I want, this is what we, so to speak, need to work out and have in place or get to do. With that also, what are the behaviors? Obviously creating a positive spin on it and results. Now, the interesting thing is also, once we want to be leaders, we often come with a set of convictions and attitudes and behaviors which basically were formed in a time where we didn't have much maneuverability, so to speak. We couldn't do much about it other than take it on board. And it's really called the way we grew up. By the time we're 20, theory tells us that our personality sort of settles in. It's very difficult to do major alterations to the way we think and the way we go about things. Yet, where along the line here does it say that you ended up or should be a great, let's say, CFO, or you should be a great sports person, or you should be a good biologist, or whatever you want to be? Where along the lines here did it say that the capabilities and the skills you needed actually turned up for you? Hardly ever, because we weren't conscious about these things. So what we're now facing is that we have what we call sort of the basic way we look at life, or the raw copper, or this is the foundation we build on. And all of a sudden you get a new job that may be sitting a little bit outside what you normally would do. You might be slightly introvert, and then all of a sudden you need to be extrovert. You need to be a salesperson because this is just part of what you do. Then you became a sales manager. The whole thing changed a little bit again. And you see, every time you do this, you open up for a front of new either thoughts and skills and things you need to do, while you actually sort of, so to speak, are shutting out or passing out or overruling things that you were born with and brought up with. And that's the dilemma. We think that we actually are operating on a number of different levels. But the point is that your parents gave you version 1.0 of your own software programming. And my question to you then is, what software version are you on now? Because I know that in this software version, there are many things allowed which later on in life isn't allowed. So you can be a bully in the schoolyard up here, but you can't be a bully at work. And then yet I'm asking, how many leaders do we have out there who are, or managers who are true bullies? So this is part of the discussion we're going to have. And not least, I want you to think about this little sentence. If this is the case, that some of the things are settled before we even get a chance to think about it, what does that do to something like a life sentence? What does that mean? Well, if you've been brought up all your life to say, I can't remember names, I have no idea about what these people's names are. And then all of a sudden you walk into a room of, let's say, 25 or 50 people and you need to understand their names because it's important for you. Are you giving yourself that life sentence that says, I can't remember any names? Or are you actually deliberately trying to do something about it? Or, well, I can't stop smoking, or I can't start running, or I can't do all these things that means that actually I get a positive spin on life rather than a negative. We're going to talk about that. But mind you, there's also the other way around. Can you overlove someone, or can you over-prioritize other people so that they actually have a negative return on you? I think there is an argument for that, and I want you to think about that as well as a sort of a life sentence that we need to talk about. So, in the end, why is this important? It's terribly, terribly important because when you think about it, any and everything we're going to do in this program is about behaviors. It's about how we behave so that what is the impact when we're together with other people. We need to get this right so we see ourselves in a way by which we have a stock value that literally means the better you do, the higher it goes. On the other hand, if you have, let's say, false intents, or you have poor attitudes or poor behaviors, we all know that people won't work with you. And what's the outcome then? So all there is here is to try and make deliberate thinkings about our behaviors versus a random act of behavior. With this, I will conclude. Thank you for your patience and attention. I'll see you at the training. I really look forward to it.